everyone, it's Jack from Cultaholic.com back again so soon after the previous news video, and that is because we have major breaking news. Apparently, Ronda Rousey could be finishing up with WWE after WrestleMania. We also have some news on the likelihood of an Undertaker match at WrestleMania, who Cena might be facing at WrestleMania, and also as well some news on one of the NXT UK signings, or sorry, should I say, one of the rumoured NXT UK signings who will apparently instead be reporting to the main performance centre in Orlando, Florida. Let's waste no further time and let's take a look at all of the news. Yes, according to Dave Meltzer, there is a very good chance that Ronda Rousey could be done with WWE after WrestleMania. That would make WrestleMania her last appearance, although he did talk about the possibility of Vince McMahon doing a bit of a Brock Lesnar sort of situation, extending her deal to get him one or two further matches. But essentially, no, apparently WrestleMania is her last, or is thought to be her last major show, her last major appearance. This is because she wants to start a family with her husband, who is also an MMA fighter, Travis Brown. And yeah, apparently just this whole time, it's always been thought of as a short-term thing. I guess probably just because it was a dream of hers to be a professional wrestler. And if this is indeed the end of Ronda Rousey's short wrestling career, she's given it a bloody good go. Now, obviously, this brings up serious ramifications for WrestleMania. For a long time now, the main event has been rumoured to be the first ever women's main event of WrestleMania. I think the fact that it could be Ronda Rousey's last appearance makes that even more likely. Also, there's been a lot of talk about who her opponent's going to be. Everyone's been saying, will it be Becky Lynch? Will it be Charlotte Flair? Will it be a triple threat involving those two? Could it just be someone totally different? Could there be a surprise winner of the Women's Royal Rumble who then goes on to challenge Ronda? Or could maybe one of the SmackDown women's roster win the Royal Rumble and then something else happens on the Raw side of things? Whoever Ronda Rousey faces, you have to imagine now, she'll be putting them over. She'll suffer not her first loss, because she lost that tag team match on Raw recently, but her first loss in which she takes the pinfall or she gets submitted. That would be, I just can't overstate, how huge this news potentially is. And if indeed Ronda does leave after WrestleMania, I think we'll look back on her career as like a little sort of perfect little gem of a short-term career. Like no other person has come in and just taken the wrestling world by storm with such minimal experience. I think ever. Kurt Angle, you could argue, but he had some experience. I think Ronda Rousey is a very, very special case, and I think that yes, if this is indeed her last appearance for WWE at WrestleMania, what better stage to go out on? Moving on now to slightly more disappointing news, according to the Wrestling Observer. Apparently there is no Undertaker match scheduled for this year's show. You could actually argue this is a good thing, because obviously Undertaker's, time waits for no man. His performances have clearly visually been slowing down over the past few years. You could argue that even actually his last great WrestleMania match, his last Undertaker caliber WrestleMania match, was at WrestleMania 29 against CM Punk. That doesn't mean that things won't change in the build-up to Mania. We've seen Undertaker be slotted in at the 11th hour. Indeed, last year at WrestleMania, of course, at 34, John Cena challenged him at the event itself after bickering in like the weeks leading up to it, and eventually Undertaker answered the call once the event had already gotten underway. So I think the thing to take away from this piece of news is that he is unlikely to wrestle at Mania this year, which, a WrestleMania without an Undertaker match just feels weird, but never say never. Things could change. But you know what, to be honest, he deserves a rest. Also, in terms of his opponent last year, John Cena, he was obviously rumoured to be wrestling Lars Sullivan, a very recent NXT call-up at Mania itself, which would be a huge deal for Lars so soon into his main roster career. But now we've learned that obviously Sullivan's been having trouble with anxiety issues and that sort of thing. Apparently, the plans are kind of on hold. Everything's in a state of flux, because Lars is welcome back when he feels better, and that would, if it was in time, that would obviously lead to a program with Cena. But if he's not ready, then I guess they'll have a backup plan in place so the Big Match John gets a big match on the big stage. And finally, let's talk about one of WWE's recent signings from the world of independent wrestling. One of my personal favourite wrestlers on the independent scene. I think he's fantastic. I saw him wrestle in Progress at Wembley as well. Ilya Draganov. Now, originally, when Draganov was signed, various news sources and fans and everyone kind of assumed that Draganov was going to be going to NXT UK, following in the footsteps of his WXW locker room mate, Walter. Instead, apparently, again according to Meltzer, Draganov looks likely to be heading over to the main NXT brand. He'll be going over to the Performance Center in Orlando. I think this is really tremendous and exciting news because I think the Dragonov's fantastic and I want him to be able to succeed on like the biggest platform that he possibly can. If you've never seen him wrestle before, there are a few wrestlers in the world today that bring quite the same level of intensity as Ilya Draganov does. Right, well, that's pretty much it for all of... What a huge news update. Thank you very much for watching. I've been Jack from Cultaholic.com. You can follow me on Twitter if you want to, at Jack the Jobber. You can follow all of us at Cultaholic and check out our Patreon as well, patreon.com/Cultaholic. And never forget, of course, if you haven't done so already, to hit subscribe and to join us.